to keep coming in. My name is Courtenay Lima. I'm a partner in the New York office of Latham and Watkins, and my practice area specializes on financial institutions, transactional and regulatory. And we have a great panel assembled here today to talk about making it to the top and accelerating women's progress. We know we've had other governance sessions relating specifically to boards and corporate governance. This will be slightly broader, and we certainly encourage your participation. So if you have questions, let us know, but there's a lot to hear from the panelists as well. On my far left, we have Claire Dorland Clauzel, who is Executive Vice President for Brands and External Relations of the Michelin Group. She's also a member of the Group Executive Committee. Claire oversees Public Affairs Department as well as Michelin Travel Partner, Maps, Guides, Mobility Digital Services, and Michelin Lifestyle. And we were just talking before, she's going to tell us a little bit about how to transform the company while still keeping its DNA. And also to my left, we have Diane de Saint-Victor, who is General Counsel and Company Secretary and a member of the Group Executive Committee of ABB Limited. And her responsibilities include Head of Legal and Integrity Group. Diane is also a non-executive director of Barclays and Barclays Bank PLC, where she sits on the board's Audit Committee and the Reputation Committee. Diane also serves as a member of the Advisory Board of the World Economic Forum's Davos Open Forum. Marianne Laigneau, here on my right, is Senior Executive President, Group Human Resources, and a member of the Executive Committee for EDF, and is responsible for all of EDF's human resources, has also served in the roles of Corporate Secretary and General Counsel for the EDF Group. And finally, Suyen Wang joins us as part of the Singapore delegation at the Women's Forum, and she is Chief Executive Officer of Human Capital Leadership Institute, which was established to develop global leaders with a strong understanding of leading in Asia, as well as to build Asian leaders with the ability to lead on the global stage. So with that, we'll turn to our topic of today in accelerating women's progress and start with, where are we now? And, notwithstanding the best policies and the numerous programs in place, the impact has been moderate at best. I speak really from the US perspective, but I've heard a lot about changes in Europe as a result of legal requirements and targets that people have put in. So I think there are some steps that have been made. But maybe we can open it up to the panelists to talk. Claire, I don't know if you want to start about the tone at the top and how do we transform by still maintaining the culture.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I think that it's true that things are changing, but it takes time. I mean, change takes time. So in Europe, for example, we have new laws, but they are concerning the board, not the executive committee of the companies. So for changing things at top level in companies, we have to have top management convinced that it's important to do so for the company, both for the performance of the company and for the well-being of the company. So in companies to really improve the situation, it has to be taken by the top management, of course by the CEO. And you have to have policies with objectives. It's what we have done in Michelin since a couple of years. And now we have objectives. We want to achieve 30% objectives of women in management. We are not still there. We are at 16, level of 16, but we have objective for 2020. And it's part of our strategy and of our sustainable development strategy. It's part of it, totally. And managers have objectives. But I would like to insist on the fact that it takes time, like every change. And cultural change takes more time, still more time. So I think that later we will have time to speak about that, but my first words are to say that.
Thank you. And Marianne, do you have any thoughts on how you develop this pipeline and bring up people so that they can get to the more senior levels?
Good morning to all of you, and congratulations for being there so early in the morning. We do appreciate. I think, as Claire just said, I mean, the important point, of course, it's the board level and the ExCom members, but it's what is before. So it's to bring and to be sure that there are the right number of women in the talent pipeline and in the managerial pipeline. So most of the company like EDF have two sets of objectives. One on the percentage of women within the board, of course, the ExCom and below. And we are encouraging women to take managerial position. So how can we do that? Maybe we can comment after. And on the second set of objectives is about having women in technical position, because we are an industrial group. So in order to convince them that they, of course, to be in corporate function, we are in corporate function. That's great, but they also need to run plants, for example. And I know that in my delegation, there are women who are running a thermal plant, for example, or used to. And it's very important for us to convince them and to help them to take that kind of managerial position on the field as a leader of a large team, and then to progress in order to reach that top levels.
Thank you, Marianne. And that brings us to what responsibility do we as individuals in our roles have to take to try and advance ourselves? Dan, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you very much. I think somehow I'd like to, first of all, talk about you. So this is day 3. You've been here, most of you, 3 days. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to, first of all, take care of yourself? It's totally legitimate. Your career will be what you're going to do with it. And as much as I love, discussions regarding the organization, the policies, the targets, at the end of the day, truth of the matter is that it's going to be about you. And yeah, I'm grateful to the company for all the company's initiatives, and it is indeed helpful. And I feel like we're very fortunate that, for example, we have an opportunity to be here. Because we're here, because our company gives us the opportunity to be here. And we'd better be grateful about that. And we are. But truth of the matter is that your career, your life, will be what you're going to do with it. And so let's kind of think it through. What should I do as I go back home or back to the office environment to somehow move the needle? And move the needle for myself, but also because I'm a woman and therefore I care about others. What is it that I'm going to do to take care of others? And so I'm not necessarily a big fan of highly visible, well-conceptualized initiatives, but I truly believe in individual actions, modestly, with humility, with simplicity, where I live, where I work. And first of all, it starts with me. What am I doing to be stronger myself? Am I being sufficiently self-critical regarding my own skill set? Because I'm not going to get this next job because I'm a woman. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. First of all, I've got to be prepared for it, that I will actually have an impact and that I can legitimately position to get it. And so I would just somehow suggest that we may want to review carefully and with an open mind what I need to do to position myself. And it's about learning. It's about taking the opportunity I need to grab in order to position for the next step. Because let's be practical. If I always say no to the next international assignment because somehow it doesn't fit easy with my family environment, then, I mean, frankly, I should not be surprised if I'm not considered for the next position. It would just be unfair to the rest of humanity if somehow, because I'm a woman, I would then be given an opportunity to apply, you know, for, or I would be selected for a bigger job if somehow I'm not ready because I didn't have a chance to build the skills I need and that I may have an opportunity to develop as I go, you know, to a different country and I have an opportunity to be exposed to a different culture. So as much as I love, you know, the women's agenda in terms of promoting women, I think we've got to be truthful to ourselves, that it starts with us, it starts with me in terms of developing myself, taking the risk. Is it that I remain silent in meetings, that I always leave it to the guys to present the project, or is it that I'm going to stand up and, you know, I'm going to be a bit shaky, I'm going to feel, you know, under stress, but yes, I'm going to do it? Is it that I'm going to find ways to position myself for a project which is risky, difficult, stressful, it's going to be day and night? So my suggestion is that we kind of think it through as well. What is it that I can and should do to push my own agenda? And reality is that it's tough out there. And reality is that I'm not going to be selected because I'm a woman, and I'm not even expecting that I will be selected because I'm a woman. Just the opposite. I know I'm going to have to work twice harder than the other guys and the male colleagues.
On another panel, we heard you had to work 4 times as hard.
10 times. And you know what? Frankly, I don't think I don't see much of a change. That's what it is.
I agree and I disagree. I think that this has to change. I think it's not normal to work twice or 10 times a man to be at top level. So I think that this has to change, and this is cultural. So I agree with everything you have said about the fact that you have to manage your career, you have to take risks. It's difficult. It's very difficult to be at top level, but it's also difficult for men, I mean. And that it's in your own hands. But I think that at the same time, things have to change at top level and in mindset of people. Woman mindset, but men mindset also. And I think that the good news is that I think that it is changing. In most of companies now, I think so, and it's not only communication or just blah blah image. I think that you have more and more CEO. Unfortunately, the majority are men, but they are convinced that to have women in executive committee is changing things. I was the first woman to be part of the executive committee of Michelin. Michelin is a company that has 125 years old. And so I was the first 8 years ago. And the men and it was a decision of the CEO. I was headhunted, so I was not coming from Michelin. So it was a revolution for Michelin. Not coming from the company, hired and put at the top level, and not because I was a woman, because I had the training before, because I had the skills and everybody, I was recognized. and the men in the executive committee told me after 1 year, you have changed something in the way the executive committee is running. And now, since 1 year, there is a second woman. So you see, I think that you are perfectly right. I fully agree with you when we told you, take your future in your hands and go. But I think that things have to change in the mentality. And this is key, because if not, it's going to take time and time and time. And I think that things are going to change because young men also now, they have to change because now their personal life is changing. And it's true that we have to tell things to improve the schedule, to improve. I don't think it's normal we have to work during the whole night. Sometimes, of course, in case of crisis, a big project, it can happen. But why all the time, and why only women? And I think that you can also go to the top, and I did it, without working every night and more than men, I mean. And this has to change. Sorry, but...
And Sue-Ann, yes, can you give us perspective?
Yeah, so I think it's not about women working more than men necessarily, but the reality is any top job takes a lot of time and effort. And it's true for men, it's true for women, and there are both personal as well as professional risks that one has to take. This is reality. And I think if you look at, Diane mentioned a point about international assignments, increasingly to take on senior roles, that is absolutely important. And just as in the past, men would, drag wife and children halfway around the world, as a woman, guess what? You have to drag your husband and children halfway around the world as well. So it actually works the other way too. I would just say, when you think about structuring your own career, and I think some of you might be here because you're interested in potentially being on boards and things like that, think about it in terms of how you take stepwise actions. So besides the executive role that I have, I'm also an independent chairman of one of Singapore's listed companies. And some people say, well, how did you get there? What did you do? Because, it doesn't just fall out of the sky. So, for example, some tangible things that might be helpful to some here, and again, I'm just sharing my experience, it may or may not be right. Start by getting involved in a nonprofit. Think about how you learn about governance by being on a nonprofit board, for example. Get the education, get the learning, take programs on what does it mean in terms of governance, and then from there work your way up and think about how you actually build that portfolio of skills. Equally, I would say it's very important, and women do, I think, have quite a good radar about this, is the communication skills required at senior levels are really, really critical. Communication, dialogue, interaction. And very often it's not just about the way you communicate, but it's about how I think about communicating in many, many different circumstances with very, very different wide ranges of people. And yes, this does include how do you communicate when you are the only woman in a male board? How do you convey your point in a way that gets your message across? And I think this is a really, really critical lesson that I've had to learn as well. It's not necessarily what I think I should be saying, but how should other people be hearing it so that the message gets across?
Any concrete suggestions in that way? What do you find effective?
Well, I think every circumstance is a bit different. In Asia, we have an Asian context as well, so the cultural context also does matter. I would say one of the things that I spend a lot of time doing is I actually engage one-on-one with the different board members ahead of time, so that by the time you get into the board meeting, you know where everybody's coming from. I think this would also apply at an exco level as well. If there's a particular project you're trying to push through, a particular initiative, get people on site ahead of time so that there are no surprises by the time you get to the meeting. But again, all this takes time, right?
Maybe I fully agree with you. Communication skills are key. Influence skill also, and listening to the others. Really the first. Leadership is not necessarily to speak the first. Listen to the others, and you will learn a lot. And after, you talk, taking into account what they have said. And I fully agree with you, prepare before, in one-on-one management, meetings, sorry.
So, Marianne, in accelerating women's progress, how do we encourage women to pursue those roles that matter and that will help lead to the more senior advancement?
I think, as it has been said, it's a mix of individual issue and a collective context. Or regarding the individual issue, it's true that being self-confident is one of the major issue. So all we can do in order to reinforce the ability to be self-confident and to think, yes, it's possible, even if I don't have the precise, large expertise for this new position, I will succeed in it, and no doubt about it, because as a HR director, and there are other HR person in the room, I know we spend a lot of time convincing women that yes, they can do it, they can manage, and it's not the last step in their career while taking this position. So a lot of things on individual, learning, listening, being trained, go to a leadership program, which are developed in your own company, if there are ones. Try to have also open eyes to the external world, so don't be too much focused on your own company issues, but go and network with other women in other companies. And of course the collective context, so like Claire, I do agree, and I don't agree about it's all about yourself. Yes, it's about yourself, but it's not the same thing to be in a completely adverse context and to be in a favorable context where you have the support of your CEO, of the ExCom, or your HR direction, trying to put criteria in order to measure the progress. And I do agree as well, measuring the progress is the key issue. The green washing speech, it's fine, but what is better is to say, yes, we are here now, and we want to be there in 2 years, in 3 years, and if it's not the case, why? And we should accelerate maybe on some points. So for me, it's a global context, and it's true also that the women who are at the top have a role model to play. So from an individual point of view, focused on yourselves, but also help other women in your company. And at the end, we will be more than before at the top. So it's a balance with maybe maybe we can debate that we progressed. It's true. You have to look at the figures. There are more women in board, in ExCom, in managerial position, but then it's a bit of a stagnation. We reached a level and then it's difficult to go beyond. So what should we do in order to accelerate and to go beyond the results we already achieved? And they are quite nice, I think, and we should congratulate ourselves all together that we managed to reach that point. But it's true, it's not enough.
I call it having a thick skin. I think it's all well and fine for us to go home, get a massage, have a glass of wine, whatever it is you do to de-stress. But at the end of the day, I think it's really important not to take things too personally. I mean, defeats will come, risks will come, you'll get beat up, and we all get beat up. But it's a bit of pushing through, right? So basically having the resilience. Marianne talked a lot about having the organization support of the CEO, HR, and so on. Couldn't agree more. But I also share that at the end of the day, as individuals, I think it's really important to have a supportive partner, for those of you who are in relationships. Because at the end of the day, that is how each of us make individual decisions. And it's impossible to decouple the personal from the professional. And so having a partner who is supportive of the career aspirations that you have, or that is aligned. If you're both aligned, in either direction, it's fine. But if you're misaligned, then that's a problem. So I have found that in my own my professional development, one of the key success factors has been actually having a supportive spouse and partner who understands the give and the take and the late night calls and so on when required, and the occasional trips, and sharing the load at home has been really, really important.
I fully agree. I think that, for example, in my personal life, I had the chance to have a partner who helped me a lot and who agreed with that. At the beginning of my career, unfortunately, my husband died when I was very young. So after I was alone, but he pushed me, and he helped me, and he agreed with that, and he accepted it all. And I think it's key. And I think one of the most difficult things for a woman to have this top career is really the balance. And for men also, I think, today, more and more. Not only for women, maybe a little bit more for women still, but it's really the balance between personal life and your professional life. And because it's very demanding, I fully agree with you, Diane. We have to work a lot. So you have to know if you want that. What do you want to achieve? If you want to be a leader and a top management, you will have to work a lot. I don't think that we still have to work more than men. I would like to see this change, but you will have to work a lot. So you have to make choice. Do you want that? Do you agree with your partner? Do you have the support of your partner? This is key. I fully agree with that. And after, the support of the company.
I would like to comment on the idea of we have to work a lot. Yes, of course. But also we need to ask questions to organizations which are linking, being at the top, and working a lot. So one of the fight, I think, is to fight against a presential culture, which is very well spread, especially in France. And I see women knocking heads. So it's also up to us to fight against this culture. Yes, you have to be at 7 o'clock in the morning up to 10 p.m. in order to meet your boss in the corridor. It's good for your career and so on. I'm a bit caricaturing, but not so much. So I hope that in 5 years or 10 years in this Women Forum, nobody will say, to be at the top, you have to work like a work alcoholic, okay? Because as you said, we need to take time for ourselves as well. And you can see that the corner with nails and makeup is very successful.
And it's great.
And it's great, and for me, it's a signal, because it's a signal that yes, when we can take time, we enjoy it for ourselves. In order, because we are not enough taking time in our week, maybe during weekends. So you talked about resilience. Resilience, of course, it's the ability to receive, to be beaten and then to go up. But we need also to have this distance between us and our job and our working environment, and to be able to breathe and to make sport, whatever, to swim, to go for massage, to read, and because it's not all about work. It's interaction between you as a person and your company and the external context. And I think that's the most difficult, to spare time in order to have the right distance and to be clear in your mind on where are you on the way. What should I focus on? What type of competencies I could develop in the two coming years in order to improve myself as a professional, because I do agree we need to be really good professional in order to succeed, but also as a person. And think about it, and it will open to you plenty of room for further meditation.
Maybe I would like to kind of demystify a little bit what being at the top is all about. And I don't pretend that I am, okay? But my point is just this. This is just a bunch of normal people, okay? The CEO, the guy in the corner's office, people in the boardroom, the directors of our respected companies, they are just human beings. And yes, indeed, they've been very successful, and there are good reasons for that, okay? Psychologically, intellectually, their lifestyle as well. But actually, the human dimension, I mean, let's just demystify that. An executive committee position, it's just another business role, but it compares very well with what those who are not, you know, a member of this club are doing. It's just the next level. But let's not be so impressed about it that it becomes out of reach. And actually, the successful teams are groups of people who have this ability to interact amongst themselves as a real team. Because as you are leading your corporation, you know, it's rough. Okay, it's good days and bad days, and have to act swiftly, making decisions that are difficult. You make decisions, you have at best 60% of the data and information you would need, but you just cannot wait. You have to move forward because the world is moving out there and you just cannot miss the train. And so the quality of interaction with others is what makes the team. And this is not a buzzword. It's fun to be part of it. It requires a lot of contribution, and for that, and I'm totally, you know, in agreement with you, it requires depth of individual contribution and also quality. If you are exhausted, it's not going to work. I totally agree with you on that. So our individual contribution and our ability to enrich the leadership team very much depends on who we are as individuals. And it's a mix of intellectual skills, personality, courage, strength, vision. We need to have mental space. For example, we're going to miss the next innovation opportunity if there is no mental space to capture it, to smell it, to see it. If we're just busy handling, you know, the operations, the daily operations. So for that, it requires depth and I think it's about talent and leadership at the end of the day.
I would like to add something. I think that it is very important to be able to trust the people you are working with, your team, and to choose the right competencies around you. Because to be at the top, you have not to know everything. You have to have the right team with you. So it's very important for you to know how to choose, and if you have to be helped by the company, by the HR department, but you have to know yourself very well, to know what you are able to do, and to choose around you the right team, to trust the team, to support the team, to make the team better, because it will help you to be better, like you said. And it's very rich to be part of a team, top team or your own team. And delegate, trust your people. It is going to help you to have this time to develop a vision, to develop conviction, and to be a better people, skilled people, to go to the top. So I think that it is very important. But I would like to add something on the fact that we have to work a lot and schedules and all that. I think that there is still in companies, maybe it's very French, I don't know, but I've seen that also abroad. I think that we have changed things, because it's true that for women, I think when you have kids, you need some time to have time for you. You need to go to school. You need to, and I think that companies have to accept that, to let people free, because it's not because you are going to arrive at your office later because you want to go at school with your kids that you are not performing. I mean, and with new tools of working, it's possible. And this is difficult. It's still difficult in companies. The fact that you have to be here early in the morning and late at night, sometimes it's still difficult. And I think that women can play a big role in changing things. And I did it in my career. I spent 10 years as a civil servant, and it's terrible there in France. People, men, stay till 10 o'clock at night. I don't think it's useful, but I had to say no, and I said no. And it's possible. And in companies also, I said, no, I don't want a meeting at 8 in the morning because I cannot be there because I have my kids. Blah. And at the end of the day, they accepted. And men are happy also. I remember one time I said, no, I will not go because I cannot. And it's not necessary. You can make the meeting beginning of the afternoon. And I said, I will not go. And men after, they thanked me and they said, but you are right. For us too, it's not agreeable. You see? So just do it. It's possible.
So just do it. Is there anything from the audience? We'd like to save a little bit of time for questions, and Mike will come so we can all hear you.
Yeah, okay. I have a question for you, Claire Dorland-Clauzel. You mentioned the fact that your presence in the executive committee changed the functioning of the committee. But in practice, how can you qualify or measure the change that is brought by the presence of women in such committees? But maybe that's also a question for the rest of the panel.
Difficult to answer. They said that to me. I think that it's probably more direct dialogue. Probably also more listening each other, because we have sometimes some different view on issues. Probably because my style is quite direct, even though I said to you that you have to listen and not to speak first. When I have a conviction, I am direct and I dare to say no, or I disagree, or I'm not sure I agree in English. And so probably more direct. At the same time, kind of bienveillance, kindness. You see, listening more. In fact, it's very interesting. Sometimes men between them they speak all the time and all together, and some more discipline, listening to the others, accepting another view. Probably that, but I mean they are better placed than me to tell. And I don't know, but they said that, and twice. In AXA, when I was in AXA, they said that, and when I was in Michelin. I was the first also, so it was a change. So they said it had changed the ambience. But men could say better than me.
Yes, I do agree, and I think also it changed the language
Sure.
used in meetings. And we received, seriously, and we received a lot of testimony from women being part, not necessarily of ExCom, but of managerial teams, and it changed the language and bring more respect, I think, between people.
Yeah. We agree.
I think that diversity of all forms changes the dialogue. And one of the things about bringing women in is actually, it's not just about bringing women in to increase the diversity. Then it becomes all the men against women. But really it's about how do you have a diverse board, diverse exco, so that you can get lots of different views. And diversity in all forms, diversity in education, diversity in background, diversity in fields. And when everybody is different and brings a diversity, it truly becomes really, really different.
Maybe just kind of a bit of an illustration. There is the guys are competing like hell, okay? And it's, there is so much ego out there. It's just amazing, right? That's how it is. That's why these guys are so successful. That's how it works. I'm not sure that I agree, but that's a fact. And what I see as an opportunity is our ability as women to contribute to conflict resolution. People believe they disagree, but sometimes they don't really disagree. It's just that they want to fight, or, sometimes I kind of wonder, it's like my kids at home fighting for nothing, and I'm like, my goodness. So, and the point is that we have an ability to bring the glue, to facilitate, to help people calm down, to build consensus without being political or, Machiavellic or, none of that, but just in a very constructive way to help people assemble, help in terms of the team spirit, and in a soft way. You know, I don't need a big win every day. You know, it's fine. You know, I'm cool, right? There is no need to fight on anything and everything, right? And so that, I think, is quite helpful to the company because it helps people move forward together.
Well, how did you manage your professional mobility? That's a key factor for career and not so evident with family constraints.
I'm sorry, are you asking me?
Everybody.
I took my children with me around the world, and I left my husband behind, and I just cannot agree more with what was, said as we started the conversation, that I'm immensely grateful to my husband for that. And that's how I chose to do it myself, as long as the kids were young. And then when they started, college years, I just did the opposite. I had them in the place that was relevant for them, and I was traveling myself.
If I may add share a bit, in the Asian context, and maybe perhaps it is applicable elsewhere in the world, very often in order for somebody to take on a regional or global role, somebody may be very, very well versed in their own particular country. So the Thailand country leader knows a lot about Thailand, the China country leader knows a lot about China, and so forth. But in order to grow out, you actually perhaps at headquarters, whether in France or Europe or the US and someplace else. And a lot of, and of course in an Asian context, all the stereotypes that you know around education being important and the consistency of education, there's some truth to those stereotypes. But think about the definition of education. And increasingly, what is important for children actually is the flexibility and adaptability. And so what we find is that Asian parents that have taken their children, including to difficult positions, so going from Singapore to India, for example, that would be considered a difficult position. Everybody wants to go to Europe and Australia and the US, right? Okay, but if you go to a difficult assignment, your children develop in a very, very different way. And it changes them for a much positive foundation for the future and the world that they live in, I firmly believe.
When I moved, I had the opportunity to move with my husband, as I was a civil servant before, like Claire. And I'm coming to my point where you have to move for a country. It makes a difference at the end if your company is helping your spouse or partner to find a position there. Sometimes through partnerships. In the industry, we have a partnership between big companies in order to sort of a market of exchange of positions, of course based on competencies. It makes a difference if you are alone or not in order to prepare this adventure and this expatriation, and also to prepare coming back from this position to your headquarters or to France, for example.
It is one of the difficult part of managing your own career. For me, as I have been alone very young after the death of my husband, it has been more difficult, still more difficult. I had a chance that the company I joined after my civil servant career accepted not to send me abroad with my 3 young children, but I had to travel a lot because I was at the headquarters, AXA headquarters, and it's a global company. So I had to travel, but they let me organize myself the right way. But I think that it's really for women and for men now, because men have partner or spouse that are working also. And I think that the companies have to work on this topic, and they are doing so. In Michelin, I know that. We work on that to help couples to go together abroad, because it's possible to do what you have done. I admire, but it's also difficult, and some people cannot not accept that. And for me, it's not possible to say to a woman or to a man, if the people is skilled and has all the quality to be a leader, to say no, you are not living abroad, so you are not going to become a leader. I think that we have to find a way to change that.
So I think we've reached our time, but thank you very much all for participating on the panel and for your good questions from the audience. Thank you very much.